One man, Dave Scott, emerged as the best. He seemed impervious to the heat, and his style was to dictate the pace. He won the Ironman the first time he raced it, and 5 more times after that. He has structured his life and the way he perceives himself around his domination of the Ironman.
I'm the guy they want to beat. I look at this event as, really as war with myself. I mean, I feel as though once I'm out there, there's no other race that draws out my physical talents as this one does.
No one knows better about Scott's talents than Mark Allen, who has twice managed to lead him near the end of the race, only to wind up like this. Allen has won virtually every major triathlon in the world except the Ironman. This was last year. Scott was sidelined due to injury, and Allen was the prohibitive favorite until 2 flats dropped him from contention.
My main goal, one, is to try and win, but in doing that, I want to be able to race the entire race, feel like I am in control of what's going on inside of my body. I don't want to have the course defeat me, and that's what I feel like has happened in the past. It's not so much Dave Scott has defeated me or Scott Tinley or whoever's come in ahead of me. It's always been the course, the elements, the wind, the humidity, and the distance under that sun for 8.5 hours. This year, that's what I would like to defeat.
Swimming comprises only 10% of the total time of the race, but it is tactically important. For the favorites, whom we see in this pursuit pack, it is the first look at each other's race strategy. Dave Scott here, he's a former swimming coach, has Mark Allen right at his feet. Allen shadowing Scott as he has in the past, conserving energy by swimming in Scott's wake. The first of the favorites coming out of the water, Dave Scott. After missing the race last year, it must be good to be back in the thick of it. Scott through the showers. That's Mark Allen right behind, followed by more of the top men. Scott, as always, very fast in the transitions. These are not everyday bikes. Each one costs roughly $3,000. Here comes a barefoot Mark Allen. His shoes are already attached to the pedals. Scott underway. Allen is undefeated in the last 9 triathlons he has run, including the World Championship in Avignon, France. In the lava fields inland of the Kona coast, it is 2 hours into the Bud Light Ironman triathlon. The heat shimmers on the Queen K, and a pack of the best triathletes in the business chase this man, Wolfgang Dietrich. Dietrich's lead shrinks with each mile. He is now just 2 minutes, 20 seconds ahead of the chase pack. But this is the traditional pattern of the Ironman. The top swimmers seem to evaporate on the Queen K like drops of water on a skillet. Just over a mile behind Dietrich, Scott, and in an ABC van, Mike Adamle.
In the 1980s, Dave Scott has been the undisputed king of the Kona coast. He seems to flourish in the lava fields while others wilt. Why is he such a force? Well, it's his keen sense of his own capabilities and the capabilities of his competition. He seems to have an uncanny sense when to pick up the pace or when to throttle down and conserve his own energy. But at the age of 35, does Scott have another peak performance left in his magnificently conditioned body? Dave was forced to drop out of the 1988 race with a last-minute knee injury. He has vowed to win his Ironman title back. Of the 9 races that Allen has won this year, he has beaten Scott twice, both at half Ironman distances. Or maybe an aerodynamic-looking Kenny Glaw has the right stuff today. He was 30 years ago.
"9:45 on this morning of the Ironman. It's almost 3 hours into the race. Hawaiian legends have always celebrated speed along this coast. Makoa, a courier of King Kamehameha, was said to be so fast he could carry a fish from Hilo on the far side of the island to Kona without having it die. Today's Ironmen don't carry fish, but they do carry the dream of victory, and each year only one of them is fast enough to keep that dream alive through the long day to the finish. West Germany's Wolfgang Dietrich, still leading 45 miles into the bike segment, knows that although he has done much already, there is much left to do. Mike Adamle is with him.
Not too much wind today, huh?
No wind, It's all right. Maybe in 2 hours. We will see.
How's your stamina at this point? Pretty good?
Yeah. It's very good today. Good swim. Not very good, but a good swim, and the bike is all right.
Are you aware of how close the rest of the pack, Dave Scott, Mark Allen, are behind you?
How far?
Yes. Are you aware of that?
Yeah. I know. I'm not aware of. It doesn't matter. I make my race, and we will see.
And what we see is the chase pack closing inexorably on Dietrich. 2 minutes, 15 seconds back now. Note that they are spaced apart. The rules forbid drafting. Scott still shadowed by Mark Allen. 4 hours into the Ironman, 80 miles into the bike segment on the Queen K Highway, German Wolfgang Dietrich alone in a cocoon of concentration. Dietrich lost a little on the downhills from Havi. Now he's again making it back. His lead, 3 minutes.
The question, will anyone dare to make a break to catch the West German? Mike Pigg was second here in Kona a year ago. Always an outstanding swimmer, Rob Mackel has improved dramatically in the bike. Kenny Glau made a brief break from the pack coming down from Havi, but he's been reeled back in since then. Mark Allen talked about patience before the race. So far, he's resisted the temptation to put the hammer down, as has Dave Scott. Apparently, Dietrich's lead not yet deemed threatening. Can the West German keep up this pace? He has had the lead from the very beginning. And what's truly remarkable, he's been racing alone. Unlike Scott and Allen, he's had no one to gauge his performance with, just his own inner clock.
Dietrich is 80 miles into the race. The point Dave Scott says the Ironman really begins. If Scott is right, then Dietrich begins with a 3-minute lead, and his pace is fast. He's roughly 9 minutes ahead of Scott's record pace. This is the volcano called Mauna Loa on the Big Island of Hawaii. The 13th Bud Light Ironman Triathlon moves toward its final phase, with the leaders setting an all-time record pace. It is nearly 5.5 hours into the race, and this man, 27-year-old Wolfgang Dietrich of West Germany, has led most of the way since the start at 7 o'clock this morning. First came the swimming, 2.4 miles in Kailua Bay, then the biking, 112 miles. Dietrich now is at the Kona Surf Hotel, where after a quick change of clothes, he will begin the running segment of the race, a marathon, 26.2 miles. Dietrich has been pursued relentlessly by 6-time Ironman winner Dave Scott, and Scott, in turn, has been unable to shake off Mark Allen. These two sweeping down the final hill toward the Kona Surf Hotel as Dietrich prepares to lead. The last miles of the bike course have seen Dietrich's 3-minute lead reduced to roughly 2 minutes, and Scott and Allen have broken away from a pack with which they rode throughout most of the bike segment. From 6 contenders, there are now just 3.
Dietrich's best time in the marathon, in fact his only time in the marathon, was in the Ironman 2 years ago, 3 hours and 48 minutes. As Dave Scott and Mark Allen head for the transition area, their personal bests in the marathon over an hour faster than Dietrich's. Dave Scott and Mark Allen are triathlon's definitive rivalry. In previous Ironman battles, Allen has tried to break Scott with his speed, only to break himself. He has learned from his mistakes. Today, instead, he has matched Scott mile for mile.
No one, not Scott or Allen, nor even Dietrich himself, thought he would be leading this late in the race. Dave Scott's pursuit begins. It should be noted that he has never been passed for good by anyone on an Ironman run, and that this apparently choppy style, which comes from running towed out, is highly effective. Mark Allen with his classic fluid style following Scott. The course they are about to run on this third and final leg of the Ironman begins along the shore on Alihi Drive, zigzags through Kailua, then heads out the Queen K into the lava fields to a turnaround. Then it's back into town, where they finish next to the little beach where they began early this morning. Dietrich on Alihi Drive. He had seemed invulnerable on the bike. Not so now. Closing in with each stride, Scott and Alan. The hunted and the hunters. Three miles into the marathon. Wolfgang Dietrich has led this race for over 5 hours. Scott and Alan blow by him as if he never existed. Where there were 3, there are now 2, and Mark Allen, previously content behind Dave Scott, has pulled out abreast of him. The race this sport has waited for has begun.
Dave Scott and Mark Allen have covered a little over 4 miles now. They're averaging approximately 6 minutes per mile, which would put them in the vicinity of a 2-hour and 40-minute marathon, something that's never been done before to the Ironman.
The natural rivalry between Scott and Allen is heightened because they are so fundamentally different. They are at different stages of their lives. They are different in temperament and lifestyle, different in the way they train. Scott is from Davis, California, a rural farming community to the west of Sacramento. Near his home are stretches of road almost as solitary as the Queen K. Here, Scott is content to train alone, to set his own pace, just as he always has in the Ironman. By contrast, Mark Allen lives by the beach in San Diego, in the epicenter of the professional triathlon community, a world in which super fitness is the ideal and in which a compulsive desire to exercise is considered normal. This is Dave Scott's house, brand new and in some ways a symbol of a world that has changed very fast for Scott in the last couple of years. You might almost call it the domestication of Dave Scott. His life now includes his son Ryan and his wife Anna, formerly one of the country's top swimmers.
It's such a big adjustment. I mean, we're adjusting every single day. I mean, I have to allot really an unlimited amount of time for him, which I like, and I'm learning to do it. But it's hard when everything's sort of focused around my little schedule.
With a family to support and at 35, relatively old for a top triathlete, Dave now spends part of his time building a foundation for the day he can no longer compete. There is a clothing line, there is talk of work on TV. Mostly, though, there's evidence that the intensity which has characterized his life will not be lost.
I think a lot of people never really tap their potential. And I think most people are afraid to take that final step. They always say, oh, I can't do that, or I wish I could do this, or why didn't I do that? And I guess my philosophy is, why not?
If Dave Scott is a man in transition, Mark Allen is one at the full height of his powers, living in this comfortable cottage, able to focus with few distractions upon being the best at what he has chosen to do. He lives with Julie Moss, herself an Ironman veteran. Indeed, it was Julie that ignited Mark's interest in the sport.
The first time I saw a triathlon was in 1982, and it was the year that Julie Moss came stumbling down the last few hundred yards of the Ironman, leading the race, and then lost by about 15 feet. And it was such an emotional experience in sport. And really, there was something in that that inspired me to try triathlons, to go out there and see if I could do that. Not the way she did it, but just to finish the Ironman.
He finished third in his second time out, and it seemed inevitable that he would win. But in 5 subsequent tries, he has not won, thanks to Dave Scott and to his own personal gremlins.
The victory here would lay a lot of things to rest. I haven't won it, as you said. It's one of the few events that I haven't been able to come away with a win. I don't want to create a dynasty here. I'll let Dave or whoever else wants to do that 6 times or however many. It's been the ultimate challenge for me in the sport of triathlon. And it has been the one challenge that I don't feel that I have mastered to the point that I know that I can.
Mark Allen needs this victory to fulfill the life he has devoted so totally to this sport. But to win, he must take something from Dave Scott, Scott's identity almost. Scott's job is to stop him.
See, I want to see.
Come on, Mark.
Yeah, all right, guys.
Right on.
See, catch me, run.
The leaders with 14 miles to go. A desolate scene, evoking the sense of loneliness inherent in this sport in which the long hours of training require such self-absorption. Underscoring this, it is interesting to note that Mark Allen and Dave Scott have not exchanged a word since this race began.
I didn't come here to watch the race this year. You know, I want to have the best race I possibly can. And I've told my wife this. I said, you know, I think I can walk away from the Ironman coming in second or coming in third. I'll be gravely disappointed, but if I can have the best race that I can bring out for 1989, that's all I can ask of myself. I'm not going to go home and bury myself if I lose. But I want to make sure that if Mark goes by me, that he really pays the price.
After 7 hours and 45 minutes of the Ironman, Scott and Allen are still together. 4 miles to go.
Do it.
That was Anna, Dave's wife.
Hey, guys, hang in there.
Go, guys, go.
With neither man giving in, Dave and Mark have driven each other to another plateau. They are once again averaging an incredible 6 minutes per mile. It is clear that Scott's 3-year-old Ironman record will be broken. The only question, who will break it?
Ice in your head.
Ice, Mark.
That's smart. Keep it up.
Mark, keep
Go,
going.
go.
Right on.
Dixie.
Right on. There you go. Right on.
In running long distances, athletes are fond of describing their inner focus. They monitor their breathing and heart rate. The rhythmic cadence of the running enhances relaxation. At aid stations, that rhythm can be disrupted, causing precious energy to be wasted.
Keep it up. Keep it up.
Water, you want a cup?
Water. Just open the top up, man. Let's do it, dude. Open the top up on me.
You're gonna follow, you stay on the inside of the white line.
2 miles to go. This is the final uphill on the course. 8 hours exactly into the race. Allen looking back. Allen has made a move, and Scott appears unable to answer it. In 1982, Mark Allen couldn't finish. In 83, he was third. In 84, fifth. In 86 and 87, he was second. In 88, fifth. And finally now, in his 7th Ironman, for Mark Allen, the long quest for victory is over. Just less than a minute later, Dave Scott on a Leahy Drive, the scene of triumph for him in other years. Today, things are different. And so, their great race is over, and the names of Scott and Allen are linked inseparably with the history of this event. But this Ironman is far from over. Paula Newby-Fraser is still on the course, and for the Hoyts, father and son, the struggle goes on. With the men's race in the Ironman over, Allen and Scott top the standings. Mark Allen's share of the prize money, $20,000.
Mark, this has been a long time in coming, and Dave Scott before the race said he was going to make you pay for it.
It's taken 8 years and a lot of hard races. Dave set a pace out there that was just incredible on the run. I didn't know how we were going to keep it up. Mile after mile, just instead of getting slower, I got faster. But coming into town about mile 24, I had a little bit extra, and I thought, if I don't do it now, I may never do it.
Many before the race predicted Dave Scott because he'd won so many times, and they've always said, can Mark do this? Is it physical or is it psychological? I guess you put those doubts away today, even within yourself.
Well, I wouldn't have bet against him either. You know, he's got the track record to prove that he's a great racer out here, and really, when you think about an 8-hour event and I beat him by, maybe a minute or something, that's essentially the same time.
Dave Scott won his first Ironman in the infancy of this event a decade ago, and he has been known as the man ever since. In a sense, anyone that wins this race merely borrows his title for a while. It should be noted that at age 35, Dave Scott has shattered his own previous Ironman record by over 18 minutes. And with this stunning performance, Scott has given Mark Allen something only he could give.